You think you know The Shining? Well, here's some things you may not have known about the Torrance family and the Overlook Hotel.
Come and play with us, Daddy. Forever and ever and ever.
Despite being hailed as a fantastic film, the way Stanley Kubrick directed The Shining did not impress Stephen King, who penned the original story the film was based on. In a 1983 interview with Playboy, he said, quote, "I had admired Kubrick for a long time and had a great expectation for the project, but I was deeply disappointed in the end result. Parts of the film are chilling, charged with a relentless claustrophobic terror, but others fell flat." Kubrick even rewrote the entire screenplay King had written for The Shining, citing a comment he had made about King's writing as being, quote, "weak." Similarly, King was not fond of the choice of Jack Nicholson to play the lead role. While he respected Nicholson's talent, he didn't feel the actor was the right choice for the part. This was mostly because of his having been on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, as well as Nicholson's trademark insane grin. King felt that the audience would immediately identify Nicholson's character, Jack Torrance, as insane from the outset of the film, thus negating the story of Torrance's descent into madness in the clutches of the Overlook Hotel. Quote, "If the guy is nuts to begin with, then the entire tragedy of his downfall is wasted."
I did hurt him once, okay? It was an accident. Completely unintentional. Could have happened to anybody.
A second unit was used to shoot all the opening credit scenes at the beginning of the film. Later in his life, Kubrick was vehemently against flying and staunchly against leaving England at all, so he wasn't present for a handful of the shots, including the helicopter aerial shots at Glacier National Park in Montana. Some of these shots would later be used in the film Blade Runner. Actor Danny Lloyd was only 5 years old when he played Danny Torrance. It was Lloyd's first time acting, and Kubrick was fiercely protective of Lloyd, purposefully directing the horror scenes around Lloyd's presence to keep him from being exposed to something that would scare him. Because of this, Lloyd had no idea he was working on a horror film until after the film had been released. It wasn't until he was 16 that he saw the film for the first time, though he didn't find it scary as he had been behind the scenes of the film. After The Shining, Lloyd had one more role and then gave up trying to act when he was 14.
They got snowbound one winter in the mountains. They had to resort to cannibalism in order to stay alive.
You mean they ate each other up?
They had to, in order to survive.
Jack, don't worry, Mom. I know all about cannibalism. I saw it on TV.
See? It's okay. You saw it on the television.
In the book, Room 237 is Room 217. This is because the real hotel, the Timberline Lodge, didn't want customers avoiding the actual Room 217. They don't have a Room 237 at the Timberline Lodge, but despite this, Room 217 remains their most requested room, ironically enough. There's a rumor surrounding the 500 pages of all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. Allegedly, Kubrick himself typed up every single page with his own typewriter, which had a rudimentary built-in memory that would allow the production of many pages without needing a person present. However, there are typing errors on several of the pages, which lead skeptics and conspiracy theorists to believe that they were all individually typed. Whether or not Kubrick was the one who did it is a question that will likely never find an answer.
And we're gonna make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. Whether you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. How do you think you can handle that?
Yeah.
All of the Overlook Hotel interior shots were filmed in England at L Street Studios. In order to recreate the natural look of sunlight reflecting off snow in the Colorado Lounge, the set was intensely lit. However, it seems they channeled the power of the sun too strongly, and the heat generated by the lights was too much, and the set caught on fire. The set had to be rebuilt with higher ceilings and was later used in Raiders of the Lost Ark as the Well of Souls. The only line from The Shining to make it to AFI's Top 100 movie quotes was completely ad-libbed by Jack Nicholson. In the famous scene in which his character breaks down the bathroom door with an axe, he imitates Ed McMahon's introduction of Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. Kubrick had no idea the line was even a reference and decided to keep the take.
Here's Johnny!
The sets of The Shining are purposefully constructed to make the viewer uncomfortable. The Overlook Hotel has a lot of impossible architecture. For instance, Ullman's office has a window with a pleasant view of the outside, However, behind it should be a hallway. The executive producer on the film, Jan Harlan, said in 2012, quote, "The interiors don't make sense. Those huge corridors and ballrooms couldn't fit inside. In fact, nothing makes sense." The Shining took almost 200 days to complete, a ludicrously long time for a film to wrap. Part of this was Kubrick's meticulous and methodical nature. He insisted on shooting the entire film script in order. This meant that all the sets had to be constructed and on standby. Every soundstage at Elstree Studios was embroiled in production. This delayed both Warren Beatty's Reds and Steven Spielberg's Raiders of the Lost Ark. And here's a bonus one. Shelley Duvall did not really get along with Stanley Kubrick. During filming, her health deteriorated because of the stress. The scene where Wendy is swinging a bat at Jack holds a record in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most takes for a scene with spoken dialogue. It took 127 takes before Stanley Kubrick was satisfied.
I'm very confused. I just need a chance to think things over.
You've had your whole f***ing life to think things over. What good's a few minutes more gonna do you now?
That's it for this episode of You Think You Know Movies. Make sure to subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and get the latest movie and TV news on ScreenCrush.com.